to the Buck and Mike experience.
Experience sports like you never have before.
Where the buck stops.
And the mic drops.
Bam. All right. What a week. How you been, bud?
Oh, not bad. Been a lot going on.
Yes, it's been a busy one. Busy. Let's start with Lillard dropped 71.
Yeah, man. And then he gets tested.
Yes.
Like
in true sports fashion, do good must be cheating.
It's just like DK Metcalf last week. All of a sudden he does really good at something and you got to get tested. So Dane scores 71 and all of a sudden you clearly are tested. It's the strangest thing. I've never realized that it was that big of a deal in basketball.
I didn't really think it was a big deal in basketball either. I thought basketball was always
fairly
so
certain
loose
that's
about
the
their
first time I've heard about a drug test.
Yeah, basketball has always been the chill sport when it came to drugs. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The NBA legalized marijuana 30 years ago when it was still a crime in most states.
Right. It's crazy.
But there were other moves. We had, Russ gets dropped in signs. Kevin Love ends up moving. So we have Russ as a Clipper now. Kevin Love's a Bull. Both guys are starting out helping their teams right away. Then you've got.
Didn't the Clippers lose their first?
They did lose their first game, but they had and then they had Kawhi was out, so they haven't acted to play with all three yet. I'm pretty sure
that's what's going to happen anyway.
Oh yeah, Kawhi won't play until the playoffs. He never does. This is gonna be a struggle
load
for me.
Management.
Yeah,
which
let's Charles
talk about
Barkley
that.
hates.
Oh yeah.
And
man, he is not a fan of this, and
as a fan, I can see why he shouldn't be.
Well, then there was, I don't remember if it was actually him or if it was someone else that brought it up, but it was someone else. I forgot who it was, but it was someone else.
It's been a hot topic for a couple of years now. It really has.
Well, it was this week. It was after Barkley's comments.
Yeah.
Someone said that if you're going to do load management, you should only be able to do it at home games. You should not be able to do it at away games.
Agreed.
And 100% that. You should not, if you're a star, you should not be able to sit unless you're actually hurt.
If you're hurt, it's a different thing. That's not load management. But, I'm sitting the second night of a back-to-back. I'm sorry, you're a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And I know guys that go and, it's not the same style, but I know guys that go and play 5 hours consecutive of basketball at a rec center and then night after night after night after night. You're telling me that the peak performance as your only job, you can't play 38 minutes?
Exactly.
Come on now.
Exactly.
And most of them don't play that. Most of them are playing, 31 to 32 minutes a night. I don't understand. I get why some of your older players, some of your guys that have had long minutes, why you want to scale back guys like a Steph, a LeBron, a guy like that, because they have played a lot of minutes, they have played for a long time. But there are a lot of cases where you see these fans hanging signs that say, I traveled 40,000 miles to watch so-and-so play, and then they're not in the lineup.
And then you get to see them right there on the bench.
Richard Jefferson. Did you hear it? That might have been who you were talking about. Did you hear about him?
It wasn't
so
him.
Richard Jefferson's from San Antonio. I believe it's Richard Jefferson. He's from San Antonio. And one of the things that got him to the NBA was his family was real poor. And he had he wanted a birthday present to go see the Spurs play while David Robinson was on the team. So his parents buy one ticket to the game, let him go to the game by himself because they couldn't afford 2 tickets. He spends the whole night watching nothing but David Robinson. And he said, now imagine, which is funny because it's the Spurs that really started load management.
Right, yeah.
But imagine if I'd have gone to the game and Robinson wouldn't have played. He was my motivating force as to why I wanted to push myself to make it to the league. And Jefferson goes on to be a successful NBA player. Wow. And so it is interesting that you do have players that are going to change, they're changing some of the ways kids watch these sports by not playing in these games, by not doing all that. And you're getting paid more now than we've ever seen these athletes get. There's no reason to say, especially guys like John Morant and Zion Williamson. Well, Zion, he's just always hurt.
Yeah, he's always hurt.
Guys that are or Luka, guys like that are in their young age. We're talking early to mid-20s.
Luka should not be sitting at all. Well, no. He's got a conditioning issue. He's just.
But if you're in your early to mid-20s, come on, in my early to mid-20s, I was playing basketball every night, working a full-time job, and I got 2 kids. Why can you not?
I got fired from a job from playing basketball constantly at nighttime, and then wake up in the morning and drowsy and just stumble into work. And
absolutely.
like, I ended up losing the job over it. But, I mean, it wasn't going to stop me from playing because I enjoyed it.
Oh, through most of my 20s, I wouldn't take certain jobs because it affected my ability to do things like play softball, play basketball, and do all that. And so that's while working. So I should understand how if that's your only job, that's what you're limiting. Why you're taking away from the people that pay to come see you. So there is an issue with it.
Yeah. For
sure. And these guys that are getting upset about it and speaking out about it, they're not wrong. Anthony Edwards came out and he was like, "You won't see me." No.
Yeah,
like, these fans pay to see me. He's like, "I'm gonna play." But you know what?
He's got that Kobe Bryant,
but I want to see him.
Mentality.
But I want to see him say that in his 30s because right now he's 21.
Right.
So every morning he wakes up and nothing hurts. So make sure he's still holding that.
The technology, they get to recover a lot quicker now.
Yeah.
So, like, they should be able to extend. Like, how are players that played back in the early 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, how were they able to not do load management, not have the technology to heal up as fast, and still do it every single night?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
for less money.
I'm not going to say it's a softer league because it's definitely not a softer league, but we are coddling the players a little bit more than you probably should. Like, be like, hey, no, go out there and play. Play.
The players have all the power in the NBA.
Well,
literally all of it.
I wish I saved it because whoever said that, what I was talking about, said this also. That there's 3 key reasons why this is happening. Analytics. Analytics is saying that they should. Mm-hmm. The media, because everyone gets to clown on, oh, he's only averaging this now. If he would have rested, he would have done better. So now they're, taking off so that they can keep their stats up where they're not going to have a bad night because they're drained.
Because they're tired or not.
And
doesn't make sense.
And then the last one is the players just, because they're able to do it, so they do it.
Yeah.
But on that note, now you have a player like LeBron and LaMelo who are going to be out. LeBron, from what I hear, his is more of they think it might be at least 2 weeks more.
I heard 2 to 3
but
weeks.
But LaMelo is done for the year.
LaMelo's done for the season. The Lakers, honestly, they're probably shutting LeBron down because with the news of AD having some form of stress fracture in his foot, the Lakers are currently sitting at 29-33. They're 2 games back, or they're a game back of the 10. If you go out and lose 5 of 6 over the next 2 weeks, I mean, I just don't see you doing anything with it because you're not going to be as much as they made good moves to better that team with solid role players going into the push run here, the playoff push. But if LeBron's already hurt and this foot injury is going to be one where he rests for 2 to 3 weeks, then he goes out and tries to push the envelope, and it's probably not better. He's just going to have to try to play through it. And AD's already hurt because AD's always hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, he just...
And Shaq even came out and made a comment about it and said that, I don't mean to make this sound bad, but AD's lost a step. Like, he's not who he used to be.
No, he's not.
He's somebody else.
He's another example of what makes the marvel of what a guy like LeBron's done, because he was good for a window, but he hasn't been good for a house. And so it's just, I mean, it just shows that you get injuries like a guy like AD has, he's always hurt. I mean, it's a foot, it's an ankle, and that's why we're going to see with Zion. Zion's going to run in that same boat where eventually he's going to get healthy.
Zion is just not going to, that dude may not make it another 5 or 6 years before he retires from injuries.
Yeah, because he's just always hurt. He's so explosive. Like, when he's on the floor, he makes the Pelicans better. Like, they are a good basketball team when he plays, but he can't be on the floor. He's Brandon Roy. Like, that's
true. That is
Brandon
true.
Roy was a monster. Like, everyone wanted to watch Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
And I think there was a time where Brandon Roy and Greg Oden only got to play like 5 games together in 3 years on the team together because they were both always hurt.
Man, Blazers still got to be kicking themselves for skipping over KD to take Greg Oden,
who's debuting this evening with the Suns finally. Finally making that debut.
That was a good transition. I like that.
Yeah, that was drop it in. I'm here to knock them out of the park. And so, no, it'll be interesting how it plays out. The Mavs have some questions. There's some complaints about how Jason Kidd's doing things.
Yeah.
There's complaints about how there's people saying, "Oh, we don't think Luka and Kate or LeBron and Kyrie are going to work out." I don't know that it's as much as that is. There's some ball flow issues. I feel like the ball dies, and not anything against Luka. You want the ball in a guy like Luka's hands, but I do feel like there's times where Kyrie will have the ball, 1-2 dribbles, kick. Luka will get the ball, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dribbles. And now I'm gonna pass or shoot, and it's like you're a superstar, you're a great player, but if you bog down everything, that's gonna hurt everyone around you sometimes too.
That's
hurts the flow.
It's the fact that he's been on the Mavericks without another star. He's never played with another star, other than the All-Star games where you don't really even play.
And he never, exactly.
So
European players never try the All-Star game, in case you ever noticed.
So it's just, right now I think a lot of, I'm not going to say Kidd isn't an issue because Kidd's an issue.
Oh, his rotations have been questionable.
As much as I love Jason Kidd.
Their big man defense
the reason why I am a Mavericks fan.
Yeah.
Originally. But with that going on, and then just Luka is going to, I don't know, something like that to me feels like it's going to have to take an off season for him to get used to. Like having it just come right in for someone that's never played with a star before, and he's the only star.
The question is will the star that he got be willing to stay if he feels like in the short time they can't turn it around? Because that's the next question is you don't have a guarantee.
Cuban's going to put enough money down to make sure he stays. Cuban is not
Luka walk.
That's
the problem with max contracts. There's only so much he can get paid, and everyone's going to offer the max. It is just what it is. You can't do like baseball where you can do.
That is true.
I can money whip you in baseball. I can't money whip you in the NBA because every player's on which is the dumbest concept to me ever, and that's what's going to make it interesting. And then you've got it looks like the Rockets are sitting in the leader in the clubhouse by now like 3 games for Wemby, which is like the sweepstakes of the number 1 pick, which obviously there's the lottery and everything else, but I think there's 3 teams that are still in the teens with their wins, and then everyone else is in the mid to low 20s. So it's pretty much a 3-team race. It's like the Spurs, the Rockets, and there's one team in the Eastern Conference that's absolutely awful. Oh, the Spurs are. Oh, and he's a foreign-born player, and the Spurs find a way to dominate with foreign-born players. So if Wemby ends up there, Popovich will just die a head coach. He won't retire with that kid.
It's ridiculous. Of course, a generational player is going to be available when they're down there at the bottom, needing.
Well, they've been down for a couple of years now. I think they've only won is it 6? I think it's 6 games in the conference. The Spurs have only won 6 games against Western Conference teams all season, and they're 2 of their last 8. And so somehow it says here that the Rockets have lost 10 in a row, but are still 1-8 in their last 9. So that adds up.
Okay.
Thank you, ESPN's standings.
There you go.
So it'll be interesting though, and then we keep the basketball train rolling. March Madness gets coming, and it's going to be fun because now regular seasons are ending. Most your men's teams have 1 or 2 regular season games left, but your tournaments are coming together. The Big 12 is stacked. If you're a tournament bracket person, you're going to see probably 6 names from the Big 12 on that list.
Yeah. From what I'm looking at right here, you've just in the there's a legit Final Four contenders, and then there's a second weekend teams, and there's 2 Big 12 teams in that, and then you drop down to the next one, you've got 3 more in that. This is loaded with Big 12 teams.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have Baylor, Texas are both plus 1,800 to be title champions. Texas is currently sitting in the top 5. Baylor's in the top 10. I don't even like the University of Texas, but they've got a good program. It'll be quite interesting.
Horns, baby.
It'll be interesting how things go now that you don't have your true head coach.
That is true.
Kansas is your defending champ, and strength of schedule wise, Kansas has played the hardest basketball schedule in the entire nation this season, and they're still sitting at number 3. So you can't sleep on anything Bill Self runs. He likes to have up collapses in the big dance, but that team's pretty solid. Houston's the favorite. I don't think you see anything from them. Houston's one of those teams that always has a great record the last half decade now, but their conference is so bad that when they get to the tournament, they'll beat a 6. They're gonna be a 1 seed. Houston will be a 1 seed. They'll probably go in as the number 1 or 2 seed, but they're like Gonzaga. They'll play in an average at best conference. They'll play 2 ranked teams all season during conference play, and they'll win their conference tournament. Everyone will be like, oh, they're coming in hot, and then they'll end up playing Sweet 16 or Elite 8, and they'll run into North Carolina, who's going to be like a 10 seed, or Duke, who's going to be a 7 seed, and they're going to lose. And everyone's like, oh, it's a huge upset. But no, North Carolina and Duke play better competition all year. They're ready for it.
So they lost to Alabama 71-65,
which is your current number 1 team in the nation.
And then they lost to Temple 56-55,
which is a perennially good basketball program.
And those are the only 2 losses that they have.
Which are both teams that are one's the number 1 team in the nation right now. And the SEC's got a good conference this year. Tennessee's got a quality team. Auburn's got a good team. Kentucky's always a team to watch. I mean, there's some solid.
Yeah, I mean they seem pretty solid. Like they even beat where did I just see that?
You had it on there.
Virginia. So they beat Virginia 69-61,
which is a good team. Virginia's
I assume they were number 2 at the time.
I'll give them props for that because Virginia is. I hate Virginia basketball. They are so boring to watch.
But yeah, you are right about their division.
Their conference is always awful.
So Memphis is 12-4,
and that's the only team that's typically pretty good is Memphis.
And they play 1-16 Tulsa.
Woo! That'll do it for you.
Well, I mean, they beat them by 38, so
UCLA.
That's good.
UCLA it'll be good. Marquette's got a good team. I mean, there's some good teams, some fun ones to watch. If you're gonna when bracket time comes, I'm a bracket guy. I'm gonna fill out like 5 of them. I get everyone in my house to do it. Like I'll do my serious this is my bracket of integrity. I will post it on our Facebook page so y'all know I'm not playing games. I will post it. I do that one. I do my favorite mascots, my favorite schools, my favorite color. Like I have fun with it. It's just something to see. And you use the ESPN builder because it breaks down what your percentages are and how it all works out. So you don't even have to really do all the math of how you did, so that makes it fun. I'm 100% a bracket guy, and a team that I'm going to tell you, if you're going to, there's always the you double-digit team. North Carolina was in your national championship game last year, and they have Armando Bacot still on the team. That kid's a stud. They're a bubble team right now. If they get in as an 11 seed, because that means that they had probably won 3 games in their conference tournament to sneak in. You can't doubt a team that was in the national championship game the year before.
I believe ESPN has the bracket watch for North Carolina to be the first team out.
They haven't first team out right now? So when I looked yesterday, they were on a bubble as first team out. It'll come down to tournament, their conference tournament. They got to win. They'll be an 8 seed in the conference tournament, I think it was. They're going to have to win 2 or 3 games and try to push to be in the conference semifinal game. But Oral Roberts, there's your name to watch out for. Oral Roberts. Look, there's always a team that you don't know their name.
Let me go back to this. Let me see. Are they on the bubble or something?
Oh no, they'll get in.
They're
not in right now. They're gonna win their conference tournament. Okay. They have a kid named I think it's Cameron Vanover. He's 7'5", and then they have Max.
Another Wemby, huh?
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's not Wemby, but he's got the size like that.
Okay.
And then I believe it's Max Abreu, who's like 5'10". But Abreu gets buckets. Last year he was the nation's leading scorer. This year I believe he's 3rd or 4th in the league in scoring in all of college basketball. They are a team when I look at my bracket, depending on who they run up against, because they're going to be a 13 or a 14 seed, that's going to be my team that I pick to be the, holy crap, the 14-seeded Oral Roberts just made it to the Sweet 16.
So they're 27 and
they're gonna walk through their conference. Yeah. Their conference is awful. They were in last year and they brought the whole team back to the team. They're the thing that wins in the NCAA tournament. The reason you see these crazy upsets is schools like Oral Roberts keep their guys all 4 years. It's very rare that these guys get it. Your high-tier, top-end schools, they're all depending on we're just more talented than you. And when you get into a one-game situation and it's a close game, sometimes that's when the experience of being a junior and a senior at that college level comes into play, and that's when those upsets start happening. And I love the veteran leadership of the Golden Eagles for Oral Roberts. That is going to be my Cinderella bubble team to watch. Yeah, there he is. Connor Vanover. Kid 7'5".
7'5",
Yeah.
227.
Yeah.
From Little Rock, Arkansas.
That kid right there, he's had a solid year all year for them. And like I said, Abreas is small, but was he having 22 a game in college, Max Abreas? Yeah.
Abmas.
Okay. So maybe I wrote his name down. I thought I spelled it wrong.
It's an Abmas. That's a weird last name.
Yeah. And so, kid gets buckets. And in college basketball, if you can get buckets, your team wins games.
Texas and TCU just kicked off.
Oh, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there'll be a fun one though. Purdue will be another team to watch. At one point, at the beginning, most of the year, Purdue was, they're a top 10 team now, but they were number 1 in the nation for a few weeks. But I think we've had like 9 different teams be number 1 in college basketball this year.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
There's been, seems like every time, 3 or 4. Like, it's been one of those years where every time we have, the thing is college basketball is weaker top tier talent wise because a lot of your high end talents are starting to go to the G League.
Yeah.
And so because you're seeing that, you're still getting great college basketball players, but it's raising the floor to meet the ceiling. And that's why we're seeing such crazy tournaments. That's why we're seeing
that makes sense.
Loyola of Chicago's making it to the Elite 8 and the Final 4 because the young kids that are good, they're going to the league quick or they're going to the G League. The top 3 prospects in this year's NBA board are one's from France or overseas in Zimbabwe, and then the next 2 are both G League guys on the Ignite.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. I get that now with how many times the number 1 has changed. So
yeah, and so that's going to be, it's going to change, it's going to make it interesting to see. No game is just like, this team is a lock. Like, I feel like we're going to watch that tournament.
Make it a lot harder.
Yeah, it's going to make the bracket filling out, it's going to be harder. The people predicting the brackets are going to be way more wrong than they usually would be. It makes it fun. It is fun on Thursday morning I am the king of this, and for years I've worked in an auto shop with a TV in it. 11 o'clock in the morning is when the first game tips. The next one's at 11:20. The TV's on. When I worked in the schools, I was the king of pulling up the fake email filter that the NCAA TV channel had so that you could watch the game, and when your boss came in, you hit boss button. It pulled up fake emails so that they wouldn't know I was watching the tournament while I was teaching my kids. Like, I'm not missing NCAA tournament basketball. I start my new job, and like 3 weeks in, I'll be like, "Earbud, Daphne." And so, which, if you need help with your staffing, remember, S&K Consultants, job opportunities or anything you need, hit up Stephen Farmer. He'll help you out. All kinds of things like resume building, interview practice, and all those things. He'll be the guy that helps you get the career you're looking for. So,
all right, with that, so we're going to stick in the college area, and let's talk about college football.
I was so glad you wrote Coach Prime.
And the thing that Dion said, it's polarizing, but he's only saying what they've always been doing. Yeah. He's just saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds terrible, and there's a lot of people that
are
upset about it.
For the ones who didn't hear it, can you tell us what he said?
So, basically, whenever he looks for quarterbacks, he looks for a 2 household with a mother and a father that's there because he thinks that helps with leadership. But on defense, particularly on the defensive line, he just looks for a single-family home because he's looking for that guy that's trying to feed his mama and his whole family. So,
because he wants him to work for it.
So, saying it out loud, it sounds bad.
Horrible.
But it's basically kind of been that way like the entire time.
He's the only
He's
person,
just the one just laying it out and saying.
He's the only coach in college football that can say that, and it's like, yeah, If Nick Saban said it,
he's but there were a lot of
there's going to be backlash.
Sports people that were pretty
you're going
mad
to get
about
backlash and all that. But like if Nick Saban says it, he's run out of town, and he's gone in Alabama.
Yeah.
But if he says that, he's run out of town. If any of these other coaches say, Deion says it, and they're all going to go, we're going to argue with it.
Do that.
But
but it's very true because if you look at some of the players. It kind of makes sense with what he's saying. Like you can tell that they actually
listen to the stories of some of these guys when they get to the leagues. Most of them will
even
tell
at the combine.
Yeah.
If you listen, like there's a page that I follow on Twitter, and they do updates all the time on the draft, and it is called. Let me scroll right here because they just posted NFL Rookie Watch. So on NFL Rookie Watch, every time they do a defensive player. Like it makes me feel bad because it always like starts out with he had problems with his parents, so he lived with his grandma, and like you see that so much.
Oh yeah.
And it goes with what Deion is saying because I mean it's almost always defensive players.
And Deion has to, even though Deion's gonna pull in great recruits. Because he's Deion, because what he did at Jackson State was a big deal. I mean, he turned that whole school around. He's still running Colorado. He's still going to have to win the battle and find the gems with those 3-star kind of recruits. And props to saying, like, this is what I'm gonna have something that I look for. Like, just saying it out loud. Because those kids that think that they don't have a chance because they have a rough life, because they have that, no, Deion Sanders just told you that he's looking for you. Like, if you are that kid, if you're the freshman in high school that's sitting at 6'1", 240, and you're just a little chubbling possibly who's not in the greatest shape, like if you put in the work, Deion's looking for you just because your daddy's not home or your mommy's not or whatever. Put in the work. Like,
and, that does kind of lead to something that I've thought about is the whole rating system. And like when you look at the NFL and you see team or players that like the playoffs this year, all the quarterbacks that weren't even 5-star quarterbacks.
Oh no!
Like they were. I think the best one was a 3-star.
Yeah, Joe Burrow was a.
Burrow was a 5. Burrow was a 5.
Was he? I thought he was a 4.
He was a 5.
But he was a 5. So that was better than Heisman. Mahomes was only a 3-star coming out of White House.
And so you had all these guys other than Burrow. All of these guys that were under 3 and under. And on defense, when they showed it, they were all 5 stars. Like almost all of them were 5 stars or 4 stars. Like look, all the stars in the NFL on defense are almost all 5 and 4 stars. Yeah. There's no one under.
There's a lot of tool chasing in defense.
And there's a lot of tool chasing. And whenever they do all that, from what I read, the transition from high school to college, whenever they put these grades on them, is easier to put on a defensive player because a defensive player is typically isolated and you can see how good they are on their own.
By watching their film.
And on offense, everything is done by a certain thing that you can never tell who's actually going to be good because it could be the system that's around it, the running back that's around it, the line that's around it, the receivers that are around it, the running back that's around it. Who is actually good?
That's what makes it hard to judge, like, some of the Alabama quarterbacks get a lot of love, but at the same time, Alabama quarterbacks are always throwing to what we've seen as 5-star top wide receivers. Yeah. So there's always going to be that question.
Same thing with Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State same way. Is Stroud a good quarterback, or was he throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. and God dang, why am I forgetting names tonight? And I love this kid, Jackson Smith.
Well, I thought you were talking about the other one.
Yeah, which I won't remember that one. I'll study him for next year.
I wasn't going to say
but the year before he's throwing to Olave, Jackson Smith, and Garrett Wilson. So is he a good quarterback? We think so. But Lord, you throw me those guys out there on a college field with a 5-star offensive line, and heck, I might be throwing darts.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of people always make that argument against Ohio State quarterbacks, which, Fields is, I'm not going to say he's in that category just yet of not working out in the NFL, but there is a little bit of it there because he's struggling, but that's just because he had a bad coach when he first came in. Now you've got another coach that's trying to get everything out of you.
Yeah.
So maybe it's going to take a little bit longer just because of that, and also you got put on.
And the team around the Bears
team
was
is terrible. Yeah,
we're gonna see total roster turnover from the
Yeah.
Bears from this year to next year.
So this
He's
year,
the
I
Jalen
think
Hurts
is the
candidate in most people.
This is the first year I think we'll see the true who he's going to be, because they're trying to build that team.
Because they'll build a team around him. They'll probably go after a true number one receiver. They'll get David Montgomery's never healthy, so I would think Herbert's the better running back on their team.
He's a free agent anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they'd re-sign him though. They've got tons of cap space. They'll address a lot of that problem. Their problems, you'd think, in free agency. At least try to.
I mean, might try to get Saquon.
That's true. That would give him a safety valve.
Oh yeah.
Well, I still like
Kareem
Herbert.
I mean, Kareem Hunt's not
You
bad.
forget about that name sometimes.
Yeah.
He's not a bad player, but
That's
I would
because he just gets lost in the backfield.
I would like Kareem Hunt on their team, but he would end up being in the same role to me because I really think Herbert's a very good running back. Every time Herbert gets the chances, he puts up 110 yards, 112 yards. Like as a fantasy football player, when Montgomery got hurt, I went and added Herbert every time and put him in the starting lineup because it sounded like he was a lock for 110 yards and a touchdown. And it's like, then Herbert comes back and it's like, 5 carries. What are we doing? The dude had 225 yards over the last 2 weeks. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so, but he got hurt in the last season, so you didn't really see him carry on.
I would have to look at the games to see who he did it against, because if it came against a bad defense, then you can kind of look.
I mean, that's gonna play into it. But it seems like over the last 2 seasons, because he's been on the team, this will be his 3rd year. Herbert has. There's been a few times. Yeah, he's going to his 3rd year.
Okay.
This would be. It seems like every time Montgomery's hurt, which Montgomery's a lock to miss 3 games a season.
Yeah.
Here comes Herbert with 85, 90, 110, 108. Like, even against bad defenses, sometimes that's still the NFL. Like, if he's supposed to be a backup running back, like, why is he producing like a starter?
And he's kind of one of those that he went a little under the radar. I think he went to a smaller school, and that's why he.
Got us both looking up his numbers now. But he's always been a guy that I like. Like, he's a stash, late round stash kind of guy you want in fantasy football. He's on the field. He's been a productive player. He's got good burst. It seems like he's put up some big runs. Like,
oh no, he went to Kansas.
And Virginia Tech. But Kansas usually sucks. So
Kansas and Virginia Tech,
which isn't much better.
It's definitely not. But he probably left Kansas to get away from Puka, because they were using Puka a lot. You probably don't remember him.
Is it Ford, right?
No, it's Puna Ford.
Puna Ford.
I think it was Williams.
Okay.
Let me see. Puka Williams. Like he was their main running back. He ended up going undrafted.
Last season, Herbert had 129 carries and ran for 731 yards, averaging 5.7 yards, 5th hit most in the league.
Yeah,
you can't say
impressive.
he's not explosive.
Yeah.
And the year before that, he went for 103 carries, averaged 4.2 yards and 433 yards. This year, he had a 63-yard run, so that kind of helps his numbers. 0 fumbles. He still hasn't fumbled in the NFL yet either. I don't know. I just.
No, he's a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, if I'm the Bears, I'm not saying you don't want another guy, but it wouldn't hurt to go cost effective and get Kareem Hunt as a second guy. And he's only 24 for Pete's sakes, and he's only had 200 and something carries, over 230 carries. I mean, he's not.
Legs.
He's fresh.
And he does have
5.7 yards a carry. Oh, you're seeing one? I don't see any fumbles.
Yeah, he's got a fumble his rookie year.
So, but I don't know. 2 seasons in the league, he's averaging 5 yards. Yeah, ESPN has him at 0, but they also said that the Spurs had lost 10, or the Rockets had lost 10 in a row by winning a game in their last 10. So how reliable my sourcing is. But
Yeah.
I mean, he is little. He's only 5'9", but he's 212, so he's got some meat to his bones. Like he can take a hit.
He's Barry Sanders with a little bit more meat.
Yeah, like
Barry Sanders was 5'8", 200.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like we sleep on this kid when when everyone's like the Bears have all this money, they're gonna get Saquon. Well, okay, get Saquon. He's gonna miss 3 games with injury anyway. He's just a better version of Herb Montgomery.
He had a healthy year this year.
Okay,
but he had a really good offensive line.
Yeah. Well, and the Bears is the Bears O-line? You know that.
So
Bears O-line average.
All right. Braxton Jones is a stud. So they got him in like the 7th round. He is an absolute stud.
Yeah.
He's their left tackle. Now they drafted Tevin Jenkins. He has not done well at tackle. He also had some back issues when they drafted him. I think they got that fixed. He moved inside. So I think honestly all they have to do is address center and right tackle, and I think they got a really solid offensive line.
So then, I mean, so it's not an elite O-line.
No, I think it's mid tier. Like
I don't know.
With Braxton Jones showing up the way that they thought he was going to after they drafted him and got him into the preseason and everything and realized that this dude was a star, like when they found him, that immediately lifted their roster because he was, I got the stat here, he was actually He's
an important tackle.
He is an important tackle. He was number 8 overall in pass block win rate with 93%.
Which is interesting since they're such a run-heavy offense. But, I mean, you would think that with adding weapons to that offense, it will help open up that passing game. So
yeah. Because
that's their biggest problem. It's right now
And that's probably why he was so good at pass blocking, because they didn't do it a lot.
No, they really don't. I mean, I wonder when they count pass block win rate, like when they do a stat like that. Like that's the stat of how often the offensive lineman wins his block versus the pass rusher for the people that we have listening. I wonder how often they take into account Fields drop back, he looks, and then he went. Because it was a pass, but then he took off because nobody was open. Like, does that come into play on his win rates?
I believe so, because they'll count that as a pass play, even though he ran. Because it was meant to be a pass play.
Okay.
So they'll count that as an actual pass block.
Which, I mean, that's good. I was
because you can still get a sack on it.
Yeah, as long as you get him in the backfield. But you don't get Justin Fields in the backfield. When Justin Fields,
he don't.
He gone.
I mean, it's something else. So on talking about this, so Daron Payne is the first person to get the franchise tag. He's going to be getting paid $19 million. This was a guy that a lot of people wanted the Cowboys to go for, and I already knew it wasn't going to happen because I knew. I knew that Washington was not going to let him walk, even though they drafted his replacement last year, which is why I thought it was funny because they drafted Fedarian Mathis last year.
Yeah,
and which was funny enough went to Alabama, same place that Daron Payne went to. So he was going to be his replacement, and now they were just like, you know what? No, Daron Payne is just too good, and you shouldn't let a guy like Daron Payne go.
No, he's a young kid.
Yeah, he's young. He's a stud, and that's your identity for Washington is your defensive line.
It is one of the worst franchises in the league.
It really is.
On the topic of bad franchises, remind me to come back on a note that ties into basketball and football.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the bad franchises with the NFL dropping. Or was it the NFL? Or the NFL Players Association? The NFL Players
Association dropped the list voting the worst teams to play.
And Commanders basically got an F on everything except for one thing.
Voted by their players, they said, y'all suck at everything except for the strength and conditioning coach. That guy's an A+. Everyone else was D-, F. I think one other was a C. And then, even their cafeteria got an F. How do you get an F in food?
There were several things that I had been hearing throughout the day on this topic. So the Bengals and the Jaguars, apparently they don't like to help their players' families. So there's no family room. They just have to be with everybody for those two teams. And the Jaguars also have a rat infestation.
Oh my God!
So yeah, that's something that was talked about quite a bit. let me see. There was the Cowboys. The one thing that the players complained about with the Cowboys was, or two things actually, but one was worse. The worst one was the fact that Jerry made them fly coach. The players had to fly coach. So they were upset about that. They got a C- or a C on that.
All that money.
And then
all that money, and he got
I know. I started laughing.
on,
they were like, "How come the coaches get to fly first class, but the players got to fly coach?" I was laughing.
Why do these billionaires not just have a big old private jet? That
Hold on. I'll get to something here in a second.
Maybe.
So the other thing that the Cowboys were bad at, well, not really bad, but not as good, was they didn't have enough people in the weight rooms and stuff for conditioning and all that kind of thing. That was the only thing that players complained about. There just wasn't enough staff. Like, they would like more staff. They got a B on that, but they just wanted more staff. That's it.
Huh.
Cowboys were the 5th best. Everything else was an A+.
I didn't
Everything else was.
I didn't get to dig into it enough, but I know that the Dolphins were like second on the list.
So there was, I can't
And the
remember the
Vikings
team,
were first.
but there was a team. Actually, it was the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals make players pay them back if they eat food from the Cardinals stadium or from
The
facility. Yeah, from the.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the Cardinals players have to pay the owner back.
That's like Major League when they had to buy Cokes in their Coke machine.
Like, that's a real thing. They have to do that. They have to pay them back.
Well, golly, here I was going to make my reference to the bad organization of the Cleveland Browns. Because my tie-in was, on the topic of the NBA, apparently the only way anyone's going to slow the Milwaukee Bucks down is that they convinced Jimmy Haslett to buy half of the Bucks. So the owner of the Browns spent $3.5 billion to buy half of the Bucks, and now it's like, well, the Bucks are done now because they're going to be the Browns. But apparently the Browns aren't as bad as some of these other teams are.
Yeah, there are some crazy things that have been said, and it really blew my mind whenever I was reading a lot of that.
That's hilarious.
And then
it's funny that they let the players vote stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because it really kind of lets you in on how things are run and why players never go to certain places, because you start seeing some of this stuff and you're like, well, that's why they can't get anyone to go there except for paying them like triple what they're worth.
The Rams are 25th. Ooh, the Patriots 24th. Yeah, screw you.
And but the other thing that I want to talk about with the Commanders, since they were the dead last, Jeff Bezos is trying to buy them.
Anything would be better than what they deal with on a regular basis.
And then I also read that they might, the owners might actually kick him out if he doesn't decide to sell.
Well, because he's got that lawsuit now, and he's being investigated by the FBI for $55 million loan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm selling it. I understand the desire to be prideful. You're rich and you have that, but just get out from it. Wash your hands. You sell that team. You're going to sell them to Jeff Bezos because Bezos has enough money that he's just going to buy it and say there's not going to be a bidding war. Like, I'll give you $10 billion.
Yeah.
Like, he'll do something crazy.
Yeah, he'll do something.
There's nothing holding him back. He has more money than any of us would ever dream to touch, and he has that whenever he wants to liquidate.
Just imagine if Elon Musk tried to buy him.
God, that'd be so weird. Who knows what weird thing? He might come in and say, I've decided I want to change the name again. To what? The Dogs.
The Dogs.
I mean, if someone came in and changed
it would be like different kind of letters.
If someone came in and bought them and changed it to the Sentinels, I wouldn't be mad. Just saying. That was what I wanted.
Well, that would be cool, but that's trademarked. They can't do it.
Because the movie?
Yeah.
Screw that. Buy it. You're in the NFL. That'd been greatness.
But
switch the colors and everything.
The other thing, the one thing that really shocked me today was that Leslie Frazier has decided to take the year off.
Anything that hurts the Bills.
Yeah, that's like that to me. So last year you lost one of the best offensive coordinator to a head coaching gig.
Yeah.
Now you're losing your defensive coordinator. Like the Bills are good,
and
but this is going to be tough.
And they're in salary cap. hell right now. Like, there's a lot of financial things they've got to figure out.
Like, there's going to be some issues there. And
I mean, there's whispers of Stephon Diggs being sent out of town because it helps salary cap wise.
I mean, it's possible.
By the way,
and
Cowboys fans,
and
he's not going to be.
And the Cowboys do want him.
They can want all they
his
want.
brother wants it.
Yeah, they are not getting Stephon Diggs. Put yourself to sleep. There you go. It ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. There's these names that keep coming around. Like my buddy was talking about another big name team going after a guy, and there's all the guys that people aren't factoring in is. The salary cap teams aren't just going to magically, when your team's in salary cap trouble, you're not magically going to get salary cap to bring on Stephon Diggs or any of the other players.
Mario Mendoza, this is for you. The salary cap does not exist.
Okay, it doesn't exist because they can flip switches and do all that, but that doesn't mean that there's not a restriction to what they can bring on, even with those switches. Because like the Dolphins,
the Saints
are flipping a switch right now so that we can get money back to keep Teron Armstead and all that, because now the Dolphins are linked to Josh Jacobs. But come on now, the Dolphins can't afford to sign Josh Jacobs. It's just not going to happen.
Right, there's all kinds of switches that can be flipped, and all of a sudden...
we're about to...
Just like we're talking... You wanted Derek Carr, to go to the Saints, who were $100 million over the cap.
There's switches, remember?
But there's some switches, because now they're not even over the cap anymore.
Yeah, and because they want Derek Carr. No, there is a...
Speaking of Derek Carr... Panthers? Yeah. There's... I mean, he's visited with the Panthers, he's visited with the Jets, and he's visited with the Saints.
By organization rank, the Panthers of the teams he visited is the highest ranked team per the player vote. Panthers are 12th.
Yeah.
Saints are... Where are the Saints? Oh, they're 10th. Misread it.
Not only that, but they have a solid roster.
We announced last week that the two of us literally on camera last week fell in love with the Carolina Panthers roster.
Yeah,
and
have a solid roster.
If you plug in a veteran quarterback right there, you're easily playoff team.
You're in the top 10 of the draft.
And the worst division in football.
You bring in Derek Carr, and one of the positions that you need is running back. And Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, because you don't have a lot of holes. Your roster is good.
And you have a chance to grab Bijan Robinson.
And Derek Carr proved last year he's good with a good running back. Or he's good to check it down to a running back.
It is funny because a lot of people are going to go, oh, but they just traded off Christian McCaffrey. And that's because Christian McCaffrey's contract is too big.
And because Christian McCaffrey was hurt all the time for Carolina while getting all that money. And as we said last week, Carolina looked better as a football team the minute they got McCaffrey off the team because the rest of the young guys were like, we don't have to force feed the ball to that guy.
Yeah.
We can use other players. And once they started utilizing guys like DJ Moore started playing good again, they started using Chenault in creative ways like the Cordell Patterson gets used almost. Yep. Which was the guy we said that'd be a great way to use him as that multi-facet tool guy. He's not truly as a receiver. Let him be a weapon. You've got Foreman had 2 or 3 or 4 100-yard games. He had some monster football games.
And they want to bring him back too.
Chuba Hubbard had some games where he looked good. I mean, would it be interesting to bring him in? Absolutely, because he's a dynamic player. And it could be...
So far, Frank Wright and the GM have talked about how they want to bring in good players. They didn't say positions.
Just good football players.
Good players. If you're going to get Carr and a position of need is running back.
Frank Wright thinks Carr's a good player. Good call.
He did say that. Yeah, he did say that. He thinks he's got at least 5 more years. He's in his prime.
I'll say this.
He is in his prime is what he said.
If the Panthers sign Carr, then that makes me think that everything that's gone on the last 5 years since Andrew Luck left was Frank Wright saying, no, I signed up to have a veteran quarterback. You're not going to give me a rookie.
So, Pagano actually addressed that.
Did he?
Yeah. And it was the organization panicking of not having a quarterback anymore.
Which, that was the other option. So, it was one of the two.
Wentz was Frank Wright's decision. It was one of those where they got together and they're like, hey, I did this with him before, I can do it again.
Yeah.
But it was all them. It wasn't right. That was all them. We have the team, like, we just need this, and then we go for it. And they just, it's what happens when you just stay in that mediocrity area. You just never get better.
Yeah.
And they're right there at that point now where they're back to having a good team, not great, but good. Now you can get your quarterback and rebuild. Like, they're at that point, and Carolina has done that. But the one thing that Matt Rule did was he built a decent roster. He just couldn't coach them.
Remember we film outside as the Bug City.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the only good thing Rule did was he brought in good players. He just couldn't coach them.
That's going to relate to how Rule does when he gets to Nebraska. Matt Rule's really good at getting talent. Like, he's that guy that he has really good friends and builds a really good team he might not do a lot of the work to make them great, but Matt Rule was bringing in studs to Baylor. That's what got him into the NFL. So that doesn't surprise me that Matt Rule was able to put talent on. He just, like you said, he couldn't coach it or get a quarterback.
and that too, like, he just
And so
he thought he had quarterbacks, but he didn't.
No.
Woo.
His best quarterback might have been the XFL kid.
PJ Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, on the subject of quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers.
He's out of the dark.
He is out of the dark.
He's still not going to retire.
And there's no news yet. Other than the fact that he said some weird stuff to some reporter, and that he had and he had some really good poops that were two wipers.
And that he said, one of his quotes was, "I'm at peace with whichever way my decision is announced." But he didn't say what he's going to do.
Yeah,
he'll play.
It's going to. So he said that he's going to do it before free agency because he's not going to drag them along the way that Brett Favre did.
He's going to be Brett Favre. He's going to go to the Jets.
I mean, he's going to be Brett Favre.
He's going to be Brett Favre. I think he's going to go to the Jets
because that's the team that needs it, and that's more than likely the team that's going to get it. Like, I do believe that 100%.
The Jets and the Panthers are similar situations, but they've already said that he's not going to be in the NFC, so he can't go to the Panthers. So if I'm the Panthers, I go, fuck it. Give me Derek Carr and let the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. Because if you really think that Derek Carr can be what he was the year before, where he was an all-pro level, not all-pro, but that level of player just a year ago, because of what Frank Reich can do with him, then you pay him less money, you get him, and you let Aaron Rodgers go play his last couple of years there, and then, hilariously enough, could line up still being 1 year in Minnesota because by then they might be done with Kirk Cousins, and then he would literally be the greatest story end ever.
How funny would that be that one Hall of Famer and about soon to be Hall of Famer,
two Hall of Fame quarterbacks
would take the same exact path.
Just to go, well, I want to play the Packers.
DBs to people. Like,
I mean, that would be...
You know what? That would be something that he would do. He would go there and do the same thing Brett did just to stick it to the Packers for getting rid of him. Because that's who he is.
And he wouldn't even care that it was the Vikings. Like, he'd go and say, oh, well, this team sucks, but they'll play the Packers this year.
You know what?
So I'm going to go do it just to play the Packers.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's the Lions. Because Goff isn't going to be there much longer.
Ooh, I don't know. Goff plays like Goff played last year. Goff will get extended.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. That is true.
Goff will get... If Goff repeats last season, he's only 27 or 28. He's going to get his money, and they're going to keep laughing at the Rams for blowing up their franchise and making them better in the process.
Speaking of blowing up that franchise...
As they blow up all their defense again.
Ramsey is basically on the move. Like, that's pretty much confirmed that he's on the trading block.
They now know that the F my pick slogan worked to get a Super Bowl, but it doesn't work to build a dynasty. It just doesn't. If you want to win, you want to win consistently, you have to do it. And they're also learning that Stafford's a good football player, but he's not any of these guys like a Burrow or a Mahomes or any of those guys where you can just win because he's on the football field. Like, they're not going to just win because Stafford's on the
Baker
field.
kind of proved it last year.
Exactly.
How do you win with Baker?
Yeah. I don't know. They're gonna have to get rid of it. The question is going to be, what happens to Aaron Donald? Because he was considering retirement. Then they gave him a big contract.
And he's already said that he's committed to this year. But, man, if you're
If
blowing
you-
the team up,
if
like,
you're-
I don't. If I was
I
him,
can't
I don't
keep-
know if I would commit because
Well, if he's
I'm
committing
part of
to
a
the team,
rebuild.
that's what I say. If he's committing to the team, if I'm the team and he's guaranteeing that he's going to play this season, he's on the asset block to be traded too, because he's going to bring you back something that helps you build
I mean,
that
he's
team.
going to bring you a lot because
Oh,
somebody's going to give up at
Dude.
a minimum
Lions-
2 first-round picks
Lions
at
call-
a minimum.
Lions call up the Rams and are just like, hey, y'all want some of y'all's picks back? You give me Donald and Ramsey, and you can have the top 10 pick this year.
Man, I'll give them both of them. Take both of them.
Yeah, you get salary cap
I'll give
relief.
you. I'll give you
because
these 2,
you're
and
gonna-
I'll give you one of my second-round pick. Or I think they only got 1 second round. Let me look at it quick before I say something.
If you-
stupid.
If you give a,
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
just got one.
Aaron Donald, you give him, but because of all the money that's going to be in play, there's going to be a little bit of a low bid on what their draft picks are. I mean, Aaron Donald's going to get the most of it, but
Oh,
you've basically said you're giving away Jalen Ramsey, so he's not going to get you as crazy market value.
I mean, honestly, he's probably going to get you a second, maybe a third, just because of where he is in his
So
career
then,
now.
honestly, if you have a guaranteed top 10 pick, which the Rams desperately need the ability to get young talent.
Yeah.
If you turned around and told the Rams, we will give you this year's top 10 pick that you gave us, we'll give you your pick back, we'll throw in a second and a second next year, you really could get both those guys.
And then you know what?
And
If
now
I
you
was the
fix the
Rams-
Lions or fix your defense.
Yeah. And then if I was the Rams, I would trade down.
Yeah,
You
because
get those
you need
picks,
all the
and then
assets
you
you
would
can
trade
get.
down. Yeah, you
Yeah, because if you're the
just
Lions or the
do what
Rams,
the
you need
Eagles
everything.
did and just
Yeah,
start
you-
getting these assets.
Yeah, because that's how the Eagles have built it.
long term. Now you got to start thinking long term.
Yeah, and that would be interesting to see. But one, does McVay stick around? Because as young as he is, he's still the youngest head coach in the NFL, and he's whispering retirement. What are you doing, dude? Like, you have all-time
he's
great
done
ability.
what he needs. He's already got it.
One Super Bowl. You really think one Super Bowl is enough? That tells
Not
me that my
really.
coach doesn't have enough competitive desire.
Not really, but I would say more or less with him, it seems to be more about the money. Like he's got the ring. Now he can go do something else without having all the headache of football anymore. Now he can just talk.
Which his memory and the way he remembers plays would be interesting to listen
Yes.
to. But
I remember back in 1975 when they ran this play, and I was just a 4-year-old boy.
crazy enough,
He's Sheldon Cooper.
He does have a Sheldon Cooper like football memory. It's crazy the way he can. Oh yeah, I remember on 2nd and 8 from the 37-yard line against Tennessee on Christmas Day in 12-degree weather when we ran a 3-yard draw play to the left. What the fuck? How do you know that?
And our running back hit this one guy, but he didn't tackle him. And it was this guy that actually tackled him. But what happened was he did this.
Well,
He was like,
With a brain like that, I don't see how you. I guess maybe you can't do anything else. Maybe you do need to stay in football. Just tell them, hey, pay me more.
yeah, I mean,
There's no cap on what you pay the coach.
and I think a lot of like him wanting to go away, it was the fact that they went all in and they finally did it, and he knew that the F these picks was going to end up biting him in the ass.
Even
Like,
though he was
knew.
wearing T-shirts
Yeah.
that said it, like
He
he was
knew it was gonna
supporting the
happen.
cause enough that he got their
Because
Super Bowl.
You can only do that for so long before it's going to blow up in
At
your
what
face.
at what point does he walk in and go, look, I don't want to be a part of a rebuild. Trade me.
I mean, there is some Sean Payton to that.
I mean, you know what? Sean Payton just got a first-round pick, and Sean Payton won one Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame quarterback. So he's never had a Hall of Fame quarterback. Well, I guess you call him a borderline guy.
I mean-
Stafford.
I mean, look at what Goff is doing with the Lions right now. He had the quarterback.
It's true, and he blamed Goff for it. So it's interesting. Maybe it wasn't.
Where I'm at with Goff, and stats back it up, if he doesn't have blocking, he is awful. He's the worst quarterback in the NFL if he doesn't have the blocking. He is terrible. But when he has good blocking, he's 4th best in the NFL. That's how good he is.
Protect him because he's
Well,
good. Like,
So that was the problem was
the Rams didn't have that.
they had cap issues. They had to let people walk.
Yeah.
People retired, and they were like,
Well, hell,
We tried to
the year they
scramble to
won
get
the Super
something
Bowl, their
together.
best offensive lineman was Whitworth at 42 or
Yeah.
something. Like he was
Yeah.
old.
Like they've been struggling to get it back together on the offensive line because they're paying everybody else.
Yeah, and they have.
That's-
they brought in names. Like,
Yeah.
They weren't paying small buckets. They were paying
And
names.
that's the problem is you brought in Bobby Wagner, you brought in Jalen Ramsey,
Who might
Aaron Donald, who else was on there? There were other people.
I mean, that team
And
was
then
loaded
you
with-
traded for Stafford.
Then you went after guys like Allen Robinson in the offseason.
Yeah,
Like you
like-
tried to get names. You pay Cooper Kupp, which they've already. There's. I guess I heard whispers that he might. The Allen Robinson contract could be the casualty whisper.
Oh yeah.
And
Robert
Robert Woods.
Leonard Ford was the other one.
Yeah.
That they brought
Robert Woods is now available again, and Cooper Kupp's out there like, hey, Woods,
Yeah, yeah.
you want to come home? I miss my friend. Like, which he was really good there. It was.
He was.
They let
He
you
was.
walk, and I think you'd have been better off keeping Robert Woods than what you had with. I think the idea of what could have been because of being on a bad team is why they brought in the new option. But
Yeah. Well, so Bobby Trees, I'm a big fan of him, just because of his name. Like I love
his
Bobby
name is
Trees.
Bobby Treese.
Bobby Trees. Robert Woods. Bobby Trees.
Okay, I
You,
get it
you
now.
never knew that?
No, I didn't. put that
Okay, yeah,
together.
that's his
I get
nickname
it
is
now.
Bobby Trees.
I get it now. That makes sense.
Like he's someone that I would absolutely love for the Cowboys to get.
Mm.
He would be perfect
Oh.
because they need someone to take the top off defenses. That was the problem with
he
their
still that-
receiver.
Is he still that
Oh, yeah.
explosive?
Oh, yeah.
though? Was he?
Yeah, he
I
just
guess the
did,
Titans,
he
you don't
didn't
get to see it
care.
much.
He did not care about playing in Tennessee.
No, he got paid.
He was not happy. Like as soon as he got cut,
He would be shocked if that was one of those moments.
free. Is
yeah.
what he
He'd
said,
be
as
shocked
soon
if
as he
that's one of
got
those
cut.
guys that was like, yeah, I'm gonna fire my agent just for saying I think I should go sign with the Titans.
But back on Rodgers, so like he's gonna be bringing that out soon, and Gutekunst has already said that they believe Jordan Love is ready. So that was pretty shocking. I wouldn't say shocking. He's been a backup long enough to where
They need to. You
You
need to
should
go ahead
believe.
and say that you support him now.
Yeah.
Which is what it's like what I've been saying what the Bears should have done. Like the
Yeah,
Bears
I
aren't
mean-
going to pick a quarterback. Why haven't you come out and said
they have
like they did now? But
finally.
even the way they said it was backhanded. They said we're going to scout draftable quarterbacks, but Fields is our guy. Like that's a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Just say Fields is our guy. We're trading the pick. Who wants it?
And
So
it is a kind of a crappy way to treat anyone, really. Like that,
Yeah.
it should be something that you say out loud. I think it was dumb. But the other thing that I found shocking, I didn't write this down. I forgot to write it down. But Tampa Bay is sticking with Kyle Trask this year. They believe Kyle Trask is the future of the franchise.
which is insane.
The reason is they were talking about it. They go, look, he did really good in college, and now he's had to sit behind Tom Brady for 2 years. And I was like, well, that's not bad. And then they go, he was going to be our starter last year if Tom didn't return. So they have enough belief in him that he's at least 1 year. We're going to see if he's the future of that franchise.
They're
But-
doing the right thing. Honestly, it's a smart thing to do because
It
the
is.
rest of the team's in shambles. You're not going to be
And
competitive.
You cut Leonard Fournette.
Yeah,
Well, you're cutting
You're
Leonard
cutting
Fournette at the end of the
Fournette
year.
as a cap guy. The team, they're loaded with cap issues they're going to have to deal with because of going all in with Brady for 2 years. So you know
Yeah.
what? It's smart because if he ends up being really freaking good, then great, he's your guy. But when he sucks, you get Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have
Yeah.
May or Williams on the board.
It's
So,
a win-win situation.
I mean, that's kind of like if I'm the Raiders, that's part of my thought process behind why. Well, one, because I think the coach is an idiot, McDaniels. But I wouldn't be shocked if they keep their quarterback, the kid that ended the season. Name slipping has been terrible for me today, guys. I'm sorry. You're just where you're supposed to save me.
Yeah, I know.
You're forgetting
I
his
was,
name, too.
marking down what
Quarterback for the
now?
Raiders.
The Raiders? Oh, Stidham.
Stidham.
Yeah.
That's why I'm be shocked you see them
Sorry.
keep Stidham
I was
out there.
marking the stuff out.
It wouldn't shock me if you're a team that has a crappy guy right now that might possibly be an answer. Find out if he's the answer because there's two darn good quarterbacks at the top of next year's draft, and either you suck and you draft them next year, or that guy's good and someone else gets those guys next year. So Screw it.
Yeah,
If I'm
they're-
Tampa Bay,
Like they're in the Raiders are in a good spot. Tampa Bay, they're in more of that area of where Anthony Richardson could fall.
if I'm
Or
the Saints,
I wouldn't say fall.
if
or
I'm
he
the
could be.
Saints, if I'm the Saints, I might be on the same boat. I might just.
I think the Saints are a little further down.
No, this year they are. But if you're the Saints, you don't really have an option to answer at quarterback. Derek Carr, if you don't get Derek Carr, even though with all your salary cap issues, you have to shed a bunch of contracts
Yeah.
to get him, which means you're going to step back. You're banking on the division sucks
So
for him.
yeah,
Falcons, Desmond Ritter, run him out because if he sucks, you have an option next year.
exactly.
If he's
yeah,
really
and
good,
that's what they're. That's
if
what
he's
they're gonna
really
do.
good, you had some weapons that he should be.
And like, the problem with the Saints though is how far down they are in the draft.
Exactly. And so then why don't you just go back and say, you know what, screw it, we're going to run one more year Jameis Winston out.
And that's what they should do.
I mean, you're not getting a top end quarterback.
I don't know why you would run. I mean, well, no, let him walk and run Taysom Hill out.
Oh God, I don't want to watch. I hate Taysom.
By the way, Anthony Richardson, Taysom Hill.
Yeah, he's gonna. If I let him, he'd go on a high horse. 30 minutes of telling you why Taysom Hill him, and he's not wrong. The numbers will line up, but just strictly Taysom Hill, he's so bad. He's so bad.
He is.
He has to. I think the main reason that he wanted to go to the Broncos and get out of the Saints coaching for Sean Payton was, I think Taysom Hill's got to have like secret nudie photos of Sean Payton or something. Like he got him a contract and everything.
Taysom. I'm very certain that Payton did not want Sean Payton did not want Taysom to be there. That was the GM making a stupid decision.
But he kept running him out. You can't say he didn't run too bad because he started moving the offense to get him on.
He's a weapon. Like, he's a weapon. Like, how many times did they actually run him at quarterback? Or use him at quarterback because they ran him a lot at quarterback.
Throw it. They'd run him at quarterback. Yeah. No.
But he would play tight end or
running back or
half fullback.
Wildcat formation. He was
just a weapon. He was a bootleg Cordell Stewart.
He made guys like Tim Tebow look bad. At least Tebow was like, at least Tebow tried to look good at quarterbacking. Like Taysom doesn't even try to look good. He just sucks.
So here's the thing. The NFL said, "Hey Taysom, you're not good at quarterback. Can you play a tight end for us?" Yeah, I'll do that.
I will say that as much as I love Tim Tebow, like if Tim Tebow would have just said, "I'll be Kyle Juszczyk," he would probably still be in the NFL.
He probably would.
Because he was damn good at. Yeah, he said in hindsight that he regrets it and he should have done it. Because at the end of the day, he was a damn good football player. And there's no arguing his mechanics were crap, but there's no arguing that he's one of the greatest college football players that anyone's ever seen. Like, his ability, if the fact that ESPN hasn't done a 30 for 30 on the Florida Gators that had a future murderer, the most holy man in football, Percy Harvin, that Florida team, Urban Meyer, like the personality list on that team is just crazy. And we haven't got a 30 for 30 yet? I've been there day one.
It might be in the works.
You think it has to be. Because you know that he'd sit down and talk about it. Tebow would be the first guy to be on that documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Percy Harvin's been out of the league long enough. He'd come back and do some stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
There's guys, Gronk wouldn't, but Gronk would be able to be in sight to talk about what it was like playing with Aaron before Aaron gets arrested. So you're going to bring in guys like that.
That's true.
Aaron Hernandez is a huge part of that Florida program. He goes to the NFL. Hell, you might bring in Brady to talk about what it was like to have freaking Aaron Hernandez as a teammate. Like,
I don't know. He threatened me one time. I thought he was playing.
I thought he was kidding, and then I found out what he did, and I realized I shouldn't have taken his pudding cup. And so, I don't know. That's one thing, ESPN. You're letting me down there. You're failing me tonight, ESPN. I'm on Yahoo now because how bad you've been.
Yeah. I need to get myself back on ESPN here real quick.
Yeah, right?
I'm still on Khalil Herbert. All right, so Calvin Ridley's still not reinstated, but more than likely, we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
He's more than likely going to.
It'll be
at
March
the
15th,
beginning of
the beginning of the
yeah.
year. They'll probably go, okay, you can come back, and the Jags will be nasty.
That's going to be a scary team. Staying in the state. Let's talk about Miami.
Yeah.
They haven't made a decision on Tua's fifth-year option.
They haven't made a decision on his fifth-year option, but they've also said we're willing to extend him. So maybe they just give him an extension, deny the 5th year, and line him up for an extension. That's a possibility.
Yeah, okay.
The problem with Tua is availability.
Yeah.
It's not talent necessarily. I mean, he's very good accuracy-wise, and he's very good in the system that we have. They're going to run Mike McDaniels there for a long time. Him and Tua will be a good marriage together. My only issue with Tua is that it's like a pitcher that having a bad day with his command. When Tua's accuracy's off, he can't hit nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's my concern, is he's not going to run away to stay healthy. He's just not athletic enough for that. And so he's got to be pinpoint accurate. He plays the game a lot like Breeze did. Like he's very Drew Brees like.
He is.
I mean that's the comp I always go to. It's not the biggest arm, but it's big enough to make some of the downfield throws.
So what you're saying is that
he's going to leave, go to a new team, and be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
That's
exactly what you're saying.
Tua's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But if that's the case, that means we're going to draft a Hall of Famer too. Because Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Okay.
You don't think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback?
So we're going to talk
about...
about...
hold on. You don't think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback? Especially with that loaded draft class that he came out with. I mean, he was running at the same time as Brady, as Manning, in the conference with those guys. I mean, they're going to limit his ability to get that Super Bowl win. But statistically, I mean, he's good as any of those guys. He's as good as Roethlisberger stats-wise. He's as good as Eli. He's as good as... I mean, all those guys came out of that same draft.
What's the main difference between all of them?
They all have the Super Bowl, and he doesn't. But quarterbacks... I hate it when they only make the championship the final thing.
I'm not big on the whole, he doesn't have a ring. But the difference that you named with all of those quarterbacks,
all those guys
they have a ring.
Because it was Brady, or not Brady, it was
now,
Eli,
what works in his
Rivers.
favor is the fact that Tom Brady won 6 of them during his time. So,
yeah, Brady got 6. Roethlisberger wins 2, 3. 2, and Peyton wins 2. All 3 of which, all 3 of those are won in the same conference that Phillip Rivers is in, which means that he had to go through a gauntlet to even have a chance at it.
So
and then he did go play on the torn ACL in a conference title game to almost get there and lose to a Super Bowl.
I think he's one of those that are kind of fringe. Like, you can talk about the NFL without mentioning Phillip Rivers.
This is true. I'll give you that.
That's the reason why I look
there's
up.
one thing that makes you have to mention him, though, and it's because of his draft class. His draft class makes him mentionable. The only other quarterback draft that we've seen is as talented as their draft class
was the 1980,
the 83 or 82 when you had Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, and all those guys come out. Yeah, and so we only had 2 quarterback draft classes where we thought there's 5 guys that have been drafted in the first round, and all of them are legitimate Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, that is true.
And so I think that might be the thing that he can fall back on to say, look who I came out with, and I still did this. And he took the job of a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, he took Breeze's job.
That's because Breeze was injured.
He still took
his
job.
They were moving on from him.
He still took his job.
Tell us what y'all think.
Yeah,
okay?
that'll be our post.
We're on 2 sides of the fence here.
We're going to put a post up. I want to know what people think about Phillip Rivers. It's a good debate.
I like that.
Who was it that used to post those in that Facebook
Cheyenne.
Yeah,
and
Cheyenne.
I need to get on to him for that.
Cheyenne, if you listen, we need you to post, is he a Hall of Famer on Phillip Rivers? I want to see what our off-topic sports group posts there, because that's an interesting guy to look at.
Yeah. I think he's actually done it before.
Doesn't he have better numbers than Eli? But Eli has 2 Super Bowls, and that's why they say Eli will get it.
But Eli was really good in the playoffs, too.
Oh, yeah. That's why he's got 2 Super Bowls. That's why he's got 2 Super Bowls.
He wasn't very good during the season.
Joe
but
Flacco,
playoffs,
the same way. Joe Flacco sucked most of his career. Gets the Super Bowl or playoffs. He just makes a run, and he's like, pay that guy. So, no. That's an interesting one. Now that we went on a fun tangent about Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. And on that, hey, let's just go ahead and switch it up and let's talk about some baseball.
I do like me some baseball.
I know you do, and let's go ahead and talk about this this clock.
We had a game end in a tie because a batter struck out because the clock hit 0. And look, I'm hating it. I'm super. It's a struggle. It's gonna have issues all season. I don't even mind the idea of, look, if you're gonna do it, take it away in the 7th inning. Take it away in the 7th.
I like that.
Because there's so much. I don't want my guys rushing in a scenario in the 9th inning or in extra innings. Like, take it away at the end of the 7th. Like, all right, 8th and 9th inning, we no longer do the pitch clock because
that's going
to speed up your pace.
Yeah.
You're going to give what you want. You're going to get the casual fan in, and if you haven't hooked them by the 8th inning of the game, you ain't getting them anyway. Because the 8th and 9th innings are when the game's won, 7th, 8th, and 9th. So if they're not hooked by then, they're not watching anyway. Let the real fans watch.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know that. I mean, what happens if it happens in the playoffs? Like, are you going to ring someone up for the 3rd out of the 9th inning in Game 3 of the NLCS? Because I mean, they're used to it by then, so hopefully the mistake doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Don't give me it's the rules thing, bitch. It's the playoffs. Like,
I do like that addition of taking it away after the 7th because that actually makes. A lot of
last
sense.
year they
did. You make a very good argument as to why it shouldn't be.
They already do the pinch runner on second base all regular season, and then they take away the playoffs. So what's the difference? Like, what's the difference in just saying, okay, we're gonna do this rule all season because it is a long season and we want to do this to draw audiences. Now we take it away when the game's on the line, because yes, there's 162 games. You can let a game here and there slide. But when you get to September and there's 25 games left and you realize, shit, we let one slide that we blew an 8-run lead in, you realize that those games start mattering. And so let's do something to make sure that we don't take away from the quality of play in the clutch innings.
Yeah.
That's my concern. I mean, we'll see how it goes. There are players that are enjoying it. You've seen guys like Manny Machado, I think it was today, actually started to walk out of the box and then went, oh shit, and had to jump back in and threw his bat on his shoulder because he remembered I can't walk out. It's a strike. Like, I only got 10 seconds or whatever. And so the problem was they tried to enforce a rule like a couple years ago where the players couldn't come out of the box. Like, they had to leave a foot in the box, but they didn't enforce it. Like, guys walked out and no one said anything. Now they're trying, it's almost like they're trying to come over correct. And so now they're like, we're going to be super strict on it. And do they loosen up when we get to the regular season because now the games count? And if that's the case, okay, cool. Let's be super aggressive about the rule now so that they learn it.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be...
It's going to be something to get used to.
I have tickets to the Braves and Rangers game May 15th. Me and my pops are going. He's a huge Braves fan. That was his birthday present. I got
that's cool.
Steal of tickets. First row in the all-you-can-eat seats in left field. Okay, I mean, you cannot get better seats for like $30 a ticket. Like,
oh, that's really
yeah. And against the Braves, Braves are one of the most popular teams in baseball. I watch the Braves every time they come. They have been one of my 3 favorite teams my whole life because of my dad. And when the Braves come to town, you pay extra. Like, that just happens.
Yeah.
National League teams always cost more, but the Braves fans sell out the ballpark in Arlington better than Ranger fans do. When Chipper was on the team, there was a banner, I swear to you, 100-foot wide, held by 50 people that says, "Chipper Jones, will you marry me?" Like, the people love the Braves in Arlington. And the Braves are stupid good, and the Rangers are improving. So it's going to be a fun series, because that's NL baseball is one of my touch points, and they're going to be it. It's going to be interesting, though, watching the game in person. I want to know, because I won't act like, as a fan of baseball, that I watch every game. I don't watch every game on TV. Like, I don't. There's 162 of them. I can catch a couple innings here. I can cut of it there.
If you were able to catch all of them, like, you would honestly have no life.
You have to have a lot of free time, and especially if you're, buying the MLB package, you can watch all of them. But it will be interesting to see how it transitions into the big league. I haven't gotten to see any impact change by the big base. Like, I haven't gotten to watch a lot of spring training baseball, but you can see the difference. Like, when you flip it onto like a highlight reel, it's freaking big. Like, you can see the difference in the big base, but I haven't heard.
I totally forgot about the big base.
The big base, like, and I'm still wanting to know at what point are you gonna, like, when are you going to start implementing some of these things at lower levels? Because if you're going to have the best,
you need to have
if the low levels are meant to teach you how to get to the high levels, then the rules need to be as universal as possible.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'll be real. The one that I find myself watching a lot more of though is college fast pitch softball, especially now as my daughter's getting into softball. I have a cousin whose daughter plays high level high school softball. She was a state runner up last year. One of my best friends, their daughter is the starting left fielder or right fielder as a freshman. I've caught myself watching a lot more fast pitch, and if you haven't taken time to sit down and watch fast pitch college softball, it's a lot of fun. There's some things that I don't understand why they do. They bunt a lot more. I like bunting, but some of the situational times where I'm like, why are we bunting with runners on first and second and 2 outs? Like, swing the bat. And I'm still learning the concept of slapping. I'm sure I'm going to get, if y'all are listening this far in, please explain slapping to me. Because I feel like slapping says that you've learned how to hit mechanically right your whole life, and we're going to break all that and teach you how to just flick that bitch into the outfield and let the bat work, which I guess is good.
Yeah.
But I don't quite understand it all the time. I mean, I've seen some girls that were really good at it at games I've gotten to watch, and some at the college level that have got it. So that's entertaining. Oklahoma is like dominant at fast pitch softball. Like they just went to they were number 2.
I don't know much about fast pitch softball, but I know Oklahoma.
They were the number 2 team in the nation, and they went to UCLA, who was supposed to be their UCLA takes down Oklahoma, and they beat UCLA 14-0 in California. Went halfway across the country and smacked that ass. So that is something that I've caught myself watching because it's fast paced because the fields are so small. Like everyone's in.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm learning aspects of it, but it is something I'm watching more of. But back on baseball, I mean, the rule changes will be different. But man, the National League is basically in my opinion, is now like the AFC in football. Like Braves, Mets, Phillies. The NL East is just stacked. The Braves are bringing back basically that entire roster of young, talented guys that are all under very, very team-friendly deals. Acuna is going to be healthy all season this year. Well, coming into the season healthy, whereas he was out for a chunk of last season from the ACL. The Mets went out and bought half their roster, still have a top 3 farm system. They have the number 1 catching prospect in baseball. I mean, they're loaded. The Phillies went out and brought in Trey Turner to go with Castellano. Bryce Harper's hurt, but you'll get him back eventually. I mean, Phillies have a stacked team. The Cubs made improvements. Thank you, Lord. Went out and added Dansby Swanson as a guy that helps. You know, you have Nico Horner there still, so that's going to be a better team. So the Cardinals, God, I hate the St. Louis Cardinals. And they went and got Wilson Contreras from the Cubs, so I hate them even more. Screw you, Contreras. Anytime you leave my favorite team and go to a team I hate, I wish your success to be none. The Pirates are improving. They have a good farm system. They have some fun prospects to watch, some young kids. Their shortstop's like, off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, but that kid is like 6'7".
Who is it?
And has the Pittsburgh Pirates. 6'7" and has a cannon for an arm. He's
O'Neal Cruz?
Yes, O'Neal Cruz. He's fun to watch. The Reds, Joey Votto got on Facebook or Twitter the other day and was like,
that's a tall shortstop.
Yeah, he's huge.
6'7", 220?
Yeah, he could play like tight end in the NFL. Like he's freaking massive. And he throws like 103 from short.
Jesus.
Yeah. Joey Votto came out and was saying that watch out for the Reds to sneak in the playoffs. Like the Reds aren't going to be a playoff team, but they will be better. They have a strong farm system. They have a young team. Joey Votto is one of the great dudes of baseball. He was the thing that they added last year. Have you seen the in-game interview yet at a baseball game? So last year they started giving the mic in the middle of a freaking baseball game to a player and letting him do an interview on the field. Like, we've seen him do it in the All-Star game where you're not really paying attention.
Oh, okay.
You want to know the coolest thing I've watched was Joey Votto playing first base in a live Major League Baseball game holding a runner on while doing an interview. Like, he's sitting there answering the questions. Runner leads off, and he's like, he's got a little bit of a lead here. Hold up. Oh, backdoor pick. Wait. Oh, tag. Oh, he's safe. Okay, good try. And then he answers the question. I've played first. It's not easy. And he's doing it in the big leagues. So that's awesome. The Dodgers are good, but they did big loss. Gavin Lux was supposed to be the guy that fills Trey Turner. I think they end up just moving Chris Taylor down. He's been a utility guy that has been on that team for a long time. He plays all over. I'm sure they're the number 1 ranked farm system in baseball. So listen, I'm sure they've got a guy ready that they could try. But I expect you see Chris Taylor start at shortstop week 1. He played a lot of it.
Right now, Miguel Rojas.
They brought him in from the Maryland, so that might be a guy they run there because they like Taylor all over. He's a guy they want to have available, so that makes sense too. You were talking about Michael Young. Basically Chris Taylor's Michael Young, except for he can also play really good outfield.
Oh, okay.
Like that's what he's all over. He's gonna bat 260, something like that. Like he's a decent hitter in the lineup, plays all over. Not gonna win you the ball game, but he's not gonna lose it for you.
Okay.
The Giants, they always find a way to be a competitive ball club, and the Padres, they're right there with the Mets. Tatis comes back from his suspension at some point. They just gave another $350 to $1 million to Machado. They brought Bogarts in from the Red Sox. They've extended Yu Darvish, so their pitching is the question in San Diego. Grisham's a solid outfielder. The National League is going to be a lot of fun to watch, but it will be entertaining seeing some of getting the season going. I know it's early. World Baseball Classic's coming. There's some fun stuff going on there. I was telling him earlier, if y'all haven't got a chance, you need to find the video of the Czech Republic team for the World Baseball Classic. Not a single, or maybe like 2 guys, but pretty much none of that team plays professional baseball. Like, they were doing their interview, and they're like, my name is, and I'm not even pretending to say the name of the guy from the Czech Republic. I'm a tax attorney. I play left field for the Czech Republic. Like, okay!
It would almost be like the way if they did interviews like that for players whenever Bill Russell played.
Yes. or referees before they all went full time. Because for the longest time, people forget that referees were. It was this big deal that refs sucked, but you forget that they were reffing pro sports on the side. They were all lawyers and doctors. And
the NFL referees are part time. They're not full time.
Yeah, I mean
that's why they suck. Make them full time. Make them do stuff right.
It's going to be a fun season. The Rangers have looked really good in spring training. I know that's sliding back into the AL, but they've looked really good in spring training.
Team we got to talk about.
You got to bring them up. Cubs, Rangers, and Braves. I'll talk about the 3 of them more than any of them.
But so while you're on this, and I know this is going to be more than likely this to be your choice. But Chris Johnson in the comments brought up he wanted to know what was the favorite sports moment seen on TV.
Oh.
And the favorite sports moment that you've witnessed live. And I would assume we're on baseball that the witness live would probably be baseball.
Witness live would definitely be baseball, but on TV is definitely baseball too.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Look, we're
one of the most hated analysts in sports is Joe Buck. He always catches it, and I will love Joe Buck until the day that I die. I don't care if Joe Buck, and I love my mom, but if Joe Buck looked at my mom and said, "You're a bitch," I'd be like, "Man, that's fucked up." But Joe Buck said the line that matters to me more than any line in sports, and that was, ground ball hit to third, Bryant's got it, he fires across the diamond to Rizzo, and the Cubs have done it. The Cubs have done it. I'm getting chills just saying, the Chicago Cubs are your 2016 World Series champions. Y'all can't see it, but he can. That phone case, the back of it where it says champions, you know what that is?
Oh,
that is the play art of Game 7 last night. That watching that ball game when the Indians hit the home run to tie it, my dad's in the room and I fell to the floor in tears. I said, we just lost Game 7 of the World Series. Like, I was literally in tears. And then the rain delay happens, and they come out and they take the lead, and pins and freaking needles the whole way through. And when that ground ball was hit to Bryant, I was just like, oh my God, we did it. You get to see David Ross hit a home run in that game, his last ever game. Now he's the manager. Easily will forever be. I don't care if the Cubs or the Dolphins can win a Super Bowl the Rangers take one. I've seen LSU win the national title. I don't think that I can say that any of them will matter to me as much as watching that World Championship.
Yeah, I could. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because we're on baseball, and I knew that would be at least one of them.
Yeah.
So,
That,
all right. So,
absolutely.
your favorite moment that you witnessed live.
What's your TV one?
So my TV one, with me being almost 40, I've got to witness the Cowboys win their last Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was 4.
So, so I got to witness it. I watched it. I got to see the Stars win their championship. There were a bunch of things that I've got to see. So, but my favorite one is hands down the fact that Dirk has a championship. Like, watching that was probably the best thing I've ever got to see, because he got to retire an NBA champion on the Dallas Mavericks, and they beat LeBron James. So that made it even sweeter.
Yeah.
And hold on, and they went through Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol and the Lakers.
Yeah, they went through
I will say, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden,
Serge Ibaka. Please don't forget
of Oklahoma City Thunder.
Stacked.
So it was amazing, and it felt so great for him to win the championship.
It was nice seeing him win one.
To go through all that, all the adversity of him being the only real true star. Jason Kidd was on the team. He was past his prime, former star.
You had big names.
You had some names that were good, not
great.
great. He was the only actual
The Matrix.
great one.
He was always a quality player that was a part of that.
Yeah.
Jason Terry was a good player.
And at the time with the Matrix, he was at that point where he was.
Oh yeah, they were all still
guy.
They would still produce, but they were all back in. So that's why you can't. It's an unpopular opinion, but you hear all the people that are like, "Whoa, I just never understood why they didn't run that team back. That team was old.
They were old, and you wouldn't want to do it again.
No, I wouldn't have been a shock if they tried running that team back out there if they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah,
like you risked
it
being
was
a disaster, and so you got
perfect.
your win. Move on, because there's no reason to try it again.
And Cuban knew that you wasn't going to be able to.
There's plenty of things that you can question by Mark Cuban. I will say that and I know Mavs fans are going to scold me. The one that lives with me is going to hate that take, but it was the right move to blow it up. I understand how good Dirk was still playing. It sucks, but it was the right move. You don't end up with Luka. I understand how many years later it was, but your franchise has to get on that trajectory to get a guy like that, and you don't get him if you don't blow it up.
So now you're live. Now I'll go ahead and do my live, and I'll let you do yours.
Go for it.
So my live, it actually wasn't anything spectacular. I actually have two. One is going to the Padres game, or going to Las Vegas to visit my dad. We went to go see the Las Vegas 51ers, which was a minor league affiliate of the Dodgers. And then the next day we went to go watch the Padres play the Giants.
Okay.
So I got to see Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds in the same game.
That's pretty dope.
That was the main one. And then my other one is the Rangers playing the A's. Wasn't a fancy game. It was just a normal, regular game. But it was my dad's last game. So those were my two live ones. It's hard to choose because they're both with my dad.
Yeah.
But it was cool that I got to go to San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
To go see Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds play at the same time.
Yeah. That, I would say, live sports things I've done, I would say there's actually going to say 3 of them. I'll have 3. And one of them wasn't actually watching a live sporting event. It's just something sports related that I've done that was always one of the coolest things. First one would be 2011, actually, would be a high school football game at Jerry World. The only time I've ever watched football. I watched football at Jerry World twice, but this one was a high school football game. I bleed green. I am Poteet Pirate through and through. I had to pick to live on this side of Forney so my kids would not be Forney Jackrabbits. I would have moved before they got to high school. But there was only one school that I disdained more than Forney High School. and that was the Highland Park Scots. And we always beat them in baseball, but my entire high school life, through the point that I'd graduated, they had never beat them in football. And 2 years after I graduated, they're playing them in the third round of the playoffs, and they beat Highland Park for the first time.
Wow.
And watching your alma mater, my dad was there, who had also went to Poteet. A bunch of other Poteet people were there because everyone had felt. I mean, that team ended up going 5 rounds deep, losing on a bad onside kick call to Alito, and holding Jonathan Gray, which most people call one of the 3 best running backs in the state of Texas high school football history, to 105 yards and 2 touchdowns, which was his worst game of the season. Now think about those numbers and tell you that's the worst game he had all season. And so that was one. That would be probably third. The second one would be the next two actually happened on the same trip. My dad and I took a road trip because he's not a flyer. We hopped in my truck and we drove to Chicago. But on the way home, we made a stop in Dyerville, Iowa. Do you know what is in Dyerville, Iowa?
I have no clue what's in Dyerville, Iowa.
It is the home of the movie site for the greatest baseball movie of all time.
Oh.
It is the Field of Dreams home location. And we went to the Field of Dreams, and as cheesy as it sounds, I played catch with my dad on the Field of Dreams.
I mean,
there were kids out there taking batting practice on it. The grass is just beautiful, bro.
Chills, man.
Bro,
that's cool.
The grass is as soft as it can get. The corn is right up on it. I mean, and this is before, but this is before now where they put the big stadium on. Yeah, I'd love to go to the MLB stadium there and watch the Field of Dreams game. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
This is before they broke ground and all that and all the other stuff they're playing. It was still nothing but acres of corn. The original movie site house is still there. It was pretty cool. I think we were there probably 45 minutes, and then we jumped in a car, drove down to Omaha, and actually watched Florida get upset by Coastal Carolina that year. They went on to win the 8-seed Coastal wins the College World Series that year. But stopping in Chicago, Cubs play the Pirates on a Friday night, and Cubs win the game, and the fans breaking into, I mean, Cubs fans, you get your Ranger game early to go for autographs and batting packs and all that. So, because everything's bleacher seats at Wrigley, you get there early, that's fine, but you have to stay on the side concourse. You can't go to the bleachers unless you have bleacher seats.
Oh, okay.
And so you get to the game, and the bleachers are full 2.5 hours early because it's first come, first served seating on the bleachers. So you can't jack around. If you want to get close, you got to get there.
Man.
And so it's not like where Ranger game starts at 7 and stadium's full 6:45 for a full house. Man, Friday night at Wrigley, that bad boy's packed an hour and 45 minutes before the game. And Wrigley's small. Like, that was my complaint about Wrigley, is it's small.
Yeah.
Cubs win the game, though, and the Go Cubs Go song comes on, because, yes, that's right, we have our own song.
It's your college football or college sports.
Hey, whatever. The hairs on your arms are standing as you're just listening to the whole place erupt. And then the 7th inning stretch in Wrigley is like no other. I mean, Harry Carey is one of the people that made the 7th inning stretch as big as it was. And so being in Wrigley Field, watching a game live there was amazing. But that was an awesome road trip. It was over a span of 5 days. Jumped in, drove all the way, hit Chicago, hit Dyerville, hit Omaha, and then came home all in one tank of gas. Because I drove a diesel at a 100-gallon tank.
Well, Chris Johnson, we got you taken care of. And on that note, for the final thing, I think it was Chris Johnson.
Yeah, it's big Chris.
Okay.
It's my lives next door to my parents.
Okay. The final thing that we need to talk about.
You remember that boxing match? I didn't watch that stuff.
I didn't watch it.
I'll say this. I like Jake Paul, okay? I get he talks a lot of crap, but props to the kid. Because you know what? He's put himself in a situation he's successful. Him and his brother have come from nothing. And they are successful.
I'll give them that.
They've got that Prime drink. That sounds good. I don't know if you've had it, but Prime is good.
And not only that, but Jake Paul, I mean, he hugged a lot, but he lasted the whole match.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't get knocked out.
And went to cards.
Like, I mean, you can't be too.
Logan already said that if Jake doesn't get a rematch, he's fighting. that he wants Tommy Fury next.
Well, Tommy Fury's already said that he'd give him a rematch.
So
Like, they've already talked. They've already said it.
That's because here's the thing.
Because Fury's going to go in there and already know what Paul's about, and he's going to knock him out.
Well, here's the fun fact of it though, is the name on the card isn't Fury. People watch for Paul.
I mean,
Paul is what
true.
makes Fury money at this point. Like, boxing isn't a sport that people watch. Name me 5 boxers.
It's really not, and Fury
really.
is only a big name just because of his brother.
Exactly.
And the fact that he was on Love Island or something like that.
I don't even know what that is.
My brother was whenever
God.
Tyson Fury, not Tyson,
God.
whenever the other Fury was coming up, my brother was like, he's from Love Island. And I'm like, from what? He goes, from Love Island. You need to watch that. It's good. I'm
Is
like,
it a cheesy
no.
MTV show or something?
I don't know if it's MTV, but it's something just like The Bachelor and all that stuff.
Oh.
It's just like that. But apparently it's good. He likes it. That's where he's actually like first made an appearance from, was on that.
Huh.
And then he went into boxing because his brother's the Gypsy King, and apparently the Gypsy King is the only one in the family that's weirdly large.
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah, he's 6'9".
Yeah, he's
And like
massive.
everyone else in the family is normal. Like he's the oddball. Like they might be tall, but he's tall.
Some people say when they look at my brother, but he's 6'8".
Is it really?
My brother's 6'8".
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
6'8" too.
Well-
Or maybe he's taller than that now. He might be 6'9". When he stands up straight, he's crouched all the time.
Oh,
I guess my dad's 6'3", 6'2", 6'3". But I got tall cousins on the other side.
Yeah,
I'm the short one.
We don't.
I'm a whopping 5'10".
Me and Alan. I mean, there's a couple of us that are actually kind of tall, but I mean, we're both like 5'8", 5'9", and we're basically like towering over the way. Like we got one cousin that might be 5'11".
My brother got all the height, and I got all the desire to be athletic, and
Oh, you've talked about that before. Yeah, you've told me about that.
big
Well,
bummer.
So back on this Tommy Fury and Jake Paul thing. So Jake Paul landed 49 total punches. And Tommy Fury landed 49 power punches.
Which props to Jake Paul for not falling asleep, because that's a lot of hard
And
punches.
Tommy Fury is the only one that got knocked down.
Huh. Hey.
But he was up pretty quick. But he
But
did
he still got
he
knocked
did
down.
get knocked down.
So then, hey.
But there
He
was
held his own,
and
in a
it's, what is funny is there was a lot of hugging. Jake Paul was hugging a lot.
I mean,
But someone brought
I
up
feel
there
like
like if
that's
you
what-
don't watch boxing, then you don't know that people hug a lot. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
people that are
Floyd
losing
Mayweather-
hug a lot.
Floyd Mayweather used to run away from everybody.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
I'm glad you said that. Floyd Mayweather is a runner.
Floyd Mayweather is loaded, but all Floyd Mayweather did was have a fast jab that ran. Like, I swear, every time I turned on a fight, I was like, oh, Floyd Mayweather's fight's gonna be awesome. I'm like,
What? No, it's not.
this is freaking
It's gonna be boring
Like, it's not fun. It goes the distance.
every time because he
Yeah.
doesn't have power to knock him out.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, yeah, they're like, oh, he keeps winning. Look, props. The dude's a great points boxer. But if he was in a street brawl, give me the boxer. Like,
Yeah, no.
if he's beating me
with-
up, I will say that.
You know, with trying to stay healthy your entire life, for the rest of your life, he took boxing the right way. He didn't want to get hit.
True.
Like,
He made a ton of money.
He did it
and
to
he-
survive the rest of his life and
he-
not have
and he
issues
doesn't
like every other boxer
I was
has.
gonna say he's made a ton of money and he's not brain dead or
So I will
suffering
give him
from
that.
any
That
other-
he did
weird things.
something that is making the rest of his life better because he
True.
didn't take a lot of the punches that everyone else did.
We also had a drop.
But it was boring to watch one of his fights. It was not fun. The only fun there was to see if he would get hit, and that was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun to watch those fights.
No. The other drop I got this week, because we are paying attention, was Travis Pastrana got a win on a dirt track race. I heard we talked about him last week having a 11th place finish at Daytona. We're thinking about it before the show and show prep, and we're thinking that maybe he should have started getting adventurous after the first X Games gold, because who knows what he could have
Yeah.
actually been. Like, apparently he's just naturally good at anything with a steering wheel.
Yeah.
So that could have been interesting. Kyle Busch actually won this week at the race, so he got back for not finishing first place last race after cautions. So Other than that, I mean that sums up a fun week in sports. We'll have more details on the combine next week now that all the workouts are gonna get started. He's drooling over that.
I'm ready for that.
So if you like nerdy numbers things, hope you know what 40 times are good and bad because they're coming at you.
Oh, they will be. There's going to be a lot of good stuff on the
bench
combine.
press reps, they bench 225 pounds. There's your heads up now because we're just going to tell you how many. We'll remind you next week, but that's their base number, which I do not think I can do one of right now. But
well, to be honest, like with the way my shoulder is, I can't do it. Like we were doing shoulders today, and I couldn't even do shoulder press. Like I grabbed 30s to try to do it, and I was like, nope, can't do it. None.
Yeah. So, but with that said, thanks again. Like, follow, subscribe, all the fun things that go with it, and we'll catch up with you guys next time.